crafted landscape of a backyard paradise. This vision of domestic bliss sounds really good, doesn't it? It's exactly what Patio Paul has been shooting for all of his life. And truth be known, we all kind of long for this utopia of harmonious bliss. Do you like how I worked in that harmonious thing from last week right there? We all like that, don't we? We want this type of bliss, this life. And, you know, right now, Kelly and I are building a brand new house over here in this area. And I personally cannot wait for this thing to be done. And I've got some anticipation already. I'm already starting to kind of plan this backyard living space. Every time we go over there, we go out there and we start talking about it. Because there's a little bit of Patio Paul inside of me, too. It's good. And that life seems a little bit desirable for a lot of reasons. Two in particular, if you've noticed from the story. Two things in particular. Friends and neighbors. Friends and neighbors. Notice how the story involved and kind of really centered around friends and neighbors. Part of the value is the friendship that is being celebrated on these Saturdays. But what's deeper? What's behind it? What's underneath it? What supports it? There's got to be some deeper meaning there. A deeper difference that can be made. Is there lasting eternal value to these things? Is there more to life beyond just social interaction on Saturdays? You know, just minutes away from here, tucked away behind the trees, we have a great example of one man's vision to try and create a certain utopia or utopian society, if you will. A community, as he even defined it. George Mitchell, who would later become a billionaire from Galveston through energy and real estate, began to bring this vision to life in 1974 and called it the Woodlands, affectionately known to us around here as the Bubble. That's right. It's a master plan community, and year after year on a national level, it was recognized as the master plan community of the year. Why did he dream this? Why did he build this? Why do you think? Well, this is what he said. He wanted to have a great effect on people in their lives. That was a direct quote from Mr. Mitchell himself. He wanted to have a great effect on people in their lives. In fact, in 2004, George Mitchell was interviewed, and he was asked about the year 1996, because 1996 was a big year for him. It's the year that he decided, for all kind of reasons, to sell the Woodlands. And so in that interview, he actually said that he regretted the most selling the Woodlands because he felt like that it had greater effect on people than anything that he ever accomplished in energy. So here we have this man, a billionaire, who thought he had had a greater impact in the lives of people than all of his accomplishments in oil and gas, in spite of the wealth that he had accumulated, that he actually built from absolutely nothing. Obviously, deep in the heart of George Mitchell, he desired what's called authentic community. He desired this. And so he tried to create it. He tried to build it. Why? Because he wanted to have a lasting impact on people. He was trying to build with his hands what we are invited to receive in our hearts. Here's the truth this morning. We all have a God-created longing for this thing called community. What is community? How would we define it? Well, Webster defines it two ways. It says this: a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, or a feeling of fellowship or unity with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, or goals. And what are some examples of maybe this community? Well, one example we're seeing all over the news right now. The Olympics. Every 4 years, we see the world unite around one common thing, which is, wait for it, sports. Sports. Games. It's games. Every year, or every 4 years, actually every 2 years, depending on if you want to get real technical. But the world can find a way somehow to unite around games, but it can't find a way to unite around anything decent or humanitarian. But games, we can unite around. Speaking of sports, how about this craze called tailgating? Anybody? All right. Now, a few of you, I don't know if that was confession or excitement or what. But tailgating. I had no idea that this was such a huge and lucrative business. I mean, it is a business, tailgating. Our Life Groups pastor, who we also affectionately call DJ Matty K, was telling me about tailgating at Aggieland. Do we have any Aggies in the house? Here we go. So evidently it's a huge thing. Did you know, and I just found this out, there are people who actually rent huge storage facilities for their tailgating hobbies. True story. Huge facilities. In fact, I know a guy who is building a storage unit right now in College Station, Texas, that he really feels like half of it will be filled up with tailgaters. True story. It is a huge hobby. Big money is spent not on just tickets to the game, but tailgating for the game. Why? Because there's this crazy quasi-community built around this event, or this team, or this sport, or this school. And it's fun, but my question is it fulfilling? Is it truly to the core satisfying? Or how about the school itself, Texas A&M? Okay, again, go ahead. It's rabid, the 12th man. Or the 12th woman, for the politically correct. I mean, the 12th, whatever. I think that these people literally bleed the color maroon. Somebody. Where is she? Nick? Somebody. They do. I mean, they will fight over this thing. And they got a lot going for them. They got cheers and dances and yells and bonfires with chants, and that's not creepy at all, but whatever. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They're deeply unified around this school. But then what? Then what? To what end? Even with all the amazing commonalities and opportunities, one of our great problems is still we struggle to find authentic, life-giving community. So back to our story with Patio Paul. The writer, Mr. Brooks, also later documents how authors and film producers have exposed this semi-state of bliss for reality that looks more like the disturbing movie American Beauty or even the TV show Desperate Housewives. Both of these expose the mediocrity of suburbia happiness and the sickness festering beneath its hypocritical surface. I remember a pastor a few years back here in the Woodlands who got this deep burden, this angst, if you will. And one day we were sitting in a circle of other pastors, and he just starts beginning to kind of weep. He's so broken over the lonely and the lost and the hurting and the broken and the divorce. And he says, I'm going to ask you pastors to begin to pray with me for the people of this area because all is not well behind the trees. Many of us are dying on the inside for real friendships and real love and real life and real community, authentic community, so much so that we try to find it in so many other things, and the struggle is real. You can hashtag it, the struggle is real. I mean, even popular culture understands this and articulates the struggle. They try to. U2 wrote a song called I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, right? If that's not your cup of tea, maybe country. Johnny Lee, old school. Looking for love and publishing right there. He just made money. True story. One of these reasons we struggle to find true community may quite possibly be where we look for it. Schools, sports teams, bars, sometimes even through our kids' activities. I have met more suburbia parents who are living out their stuff through their kids, living here for the past 13 years. And there is a quasi-community to be found. But at the end of it, is it just fun, or truly is it fulfilling your soul? Is it fulfilling your soul? Most of the time, what we end up pursuing gives us momentary value and even momentary happiness, but in contrast to authentic biblical community, it ends up being superficial. We may somewhat know people through a common interest or through things or through events rather than for who they really are, which while may seem desirable, doesn't end up being very deep when it's just about the event or the moment or the team. Some of us may be known as Patio Paul. Some of us may be known as Overcommitted Olivia. Maybe you're known as Game Day Gary. Room Mom Rachel. Anybody? Baseball Dad Brad. Okay, Peggy the Plexus Pimp. Can I say that in church? Sorry. It's true. I get it like 5 times a day on Facebook. I'm like, you don't really? No one's told me about this. But are we really known? I'm just playing. If you like play, it's good. Pink drink. You, me, good. Are we really known? Do we feel truly known for who we really are? Do we feel known? Do we truly have depth in our relationships? Are we making an eternal difference? Deep down within the heart of every person, we all crave a very deep sense of belonging. We deeply desire to be known and to know God. We deeply desire rich, authentic friends. We deeply desire to know what our purpose in life truly is. Anybody? I mean, is this resonating with you? Some of us deeply desire love, like real unconditional love. We deeply desire freedom. We have been almost as if we've been crawling through concrete trying to find it. We deeply desire to live in purpose and make a difference, to have an impact. I'm sorry, I was so taken when I was thinking about, I met George Mitchell once in Galveston at the Tremont Hotel. And I could not believe when I read that interview. I mean, this is a guy who literally at one point sold his energy company, I told Kelly last night, for $3.4 billion. And his deepest regret was selling that which he felt made an impact in people's lives. It's just further proof that we deeply desire to live purpose and make a difference. All of this will only come from true community found in Christ. Let me add a definition of community to the mix. When we were launching the church, I gave this definition to our launch team. It's something that as I was teaching through the book of Acts a couple years ago, I just kind of wrote it down, and I didn't realize how profound it would be for me. I knew it was straight from the Lord. I'm not that smart. I can't come up with this stuff. But this is what I felt like God said. Authentic community. A body of individuals unified around a central fundamental belief or conviction, where that belief or conviction becomes more important than the individual. So what's the difference maker? What is the game changer? We all need a game change from time to time. What is the central fundamental belief and or conviction that puts the unity in community? Jesus. Jesus at the center. Jesus changes everything. Authentic community can only be found in the context of Jesus. When you surrender your life to Jesus Christ and have a relationship with Him and center your life around Him, it becomes a game changer. You can chase the teams. You can chase the hobby. You can chase your kids. And you might be happy for a minute. But at the end of the day, when the kids are graduated and gone, when the hobby seems to not interest you anymore, or like me, you find that golf is way too expensive, so you're like, I'm really bad at it. It's futile. Don't do it. You know, you got to find yourself somewhere else. And that somewhere else that's truly satisfying and fulfilling the deepest longing of your soul is only going to be centered and found in Jesus Christ. It's the game changer. Think about it. What else could bring a crooked tax collector, a Jewish zealot, a common thief, a cynical doubter, and a bunch of ragtag fishermen with a denying coward together? Jesus. He changed the game forever. So what I want to do is I want to look in the book of Acts chapter 1 for just a minute. If you've got your Bibles, if you need a Bible, there's a few back here on the table. Feel free to take it. It's yours. It's a gift. The book of Acts is an interesting book. It explains some things to us. It explains how the gospel got from Jerusalem to Rome. Introduces to us this character of who Paul is. What if we didn't have the book of Acts? Well, we would see the ministry of Jesus ending in the book of John and then jump immediately into this ministry of this guy named Paul. If we didn't have the book of Acts, we wouldn't. It's like, what happened between Jesus and who is this Paul guy? We need the book of Acts. I was actually at a church one time. I said yes to take a job, did my first Wednesday night, and quit immediately after because the guy stood up and said, we get no theology from the book of Acts. It's just a story. Because what he was trying to do is he was trying to tee up his systematic theology in a way that felt right. And again, I believe the canon is what it is. And so I was like, thanks for the job today. I'm done. Sorry. I said, I can't be a part of something that's teaching a generation unbelief. And this is a church not far. I still pray for them. I still pray for them. I do. It's a very interesting book, and it's a necessary book. It's where we see the church come to life. Did you know that there was a time where the Gospel of Luke and the books of Acts were actually combined into one book with 2 volumes? I found that out in my study. I thought that was interesting. That was free. In this day, though, when this was written, ancient books were usually written on papyrus scrolls, and they'd be around 35 feet long. If it got any longer, it would end up being way too bulky to carry. And so basically the physical limitation alone usually determined how long the books of the Bible would be. So according to this theologian named Boyce, Luke used 2 scrolls to tell the story. One we call the Gospel of Luke, and the other we call the book of Acts. Luke was a Gentile. He was a physician. He was a companion and most likely a convert of Paul. He probably regarded himself as recording sacred history